All right, all right. Let's get back to it. Yo, y'all. We got a little something going down in South America. Now, I love this story because of the fact that you know, over this last year, we've seen World Rugby create the multi-tiers and separate tier one more so into its spot with its little 16, 19 little competition, basically the WXV, but for men's. And then, of course, what we've been able to see with the you know development from the Rugby World Cup, and we saw scrappy teams really show out. And this is one of the scrappy teams that really put it out there, which was Uruguay. And Uruguay is one that has been steadily growing. As a U.S. person, we know Uruguay well because they kicked us out of the Rugby World Cup of our first our first standing to be able to get qualification. And then, of course, obviously Chile, then Portugal absolutely put the death nail into us. But Uruguay also showed us that they could hold up fairly well against a tier one team because in the Rugby World Cup, they played France close. That score, don't let the score fool you. Don't let that score fool you. Uruguay was putting it to France, and France was on its back of its heels for that game. But it looks like Uruguay was able to say, hey, yo, y'all need to stop trying to forget about us. Y'all need to stop trying to underestimate us because we got a schedule and we got something to show. And they put together a schedule that is absolutely legit for the summer. So it looks like they are going to be playing out 3 games over the summer primarily. All right. 3 really strong games. Shout out to Paul Tate of American Rugby News for putting this out. It looks like on July 10th, they get the rematch against France in Uruguay. July 20th, they're up against their neighbors, Argentina. And then on July 27th, they get to go back home and play Scotland. I don't care what side of the team, because I know France has to bring it. They don't got DuPont anymore. And Scotland is, going to be coming off. Obviously, Finn Russell should be healed up by that point if they bring their number one side. But I feel like they'll probably be their B side because Premiership is still going on. URC is still going on just around that time. But this is one of those situations where this is what you want from the schedule. Now, don't get me wrong. Uruguay is about to get boat raced by all 3 of these teams. Like, let's not play. Like, Uruguay is going to play them tough, but I think the final score is going to be an absolute boat race. But I do feel like this is a situation where Uruguay is going to be able to level up a little bit and be able to get the more out of their players. I hope it's not going to be in the same style that our increase of play was whenever we played the All Blacks in 2014. But I do think that this is an opportunity because Uruguay has a very strong developing rugby program from their men's side. And I think with Argentina really trying to assist most of South America in their development, this is something that can be able to utilize. And Uruguay has a great coaching. They have formidable players. They're no longer playing like club players. Add that, you got the Super Rugby Americas. So they kind of have their semi-pro team that allows them to have a lot more 24/7 training on top of the fact that because it's a small country, even their national team plays together a lot. So these guys are really just getting constant action over and over and over again. And for my point of view, I think that's legitimate. I think that's what we want. And that's what we even want from the U.S. And I think, this is those things that are coming in. So shout out to them for scheduling. But really, I give a lot of credit to France and Scotland for being willing to come and do it and take the time out. That being said, I also assume they want to come to South America and get some heat because most of these players are either going to South Africa and then getting mollywopped with their club teams, or they just don't get a chance to, though I do worry about them getting burned. But it's July. It's wintertime, so it's not even time that's going to be hot for them either. So that's going to be a nice little difference for it. So I felt like this is one that was a really good story, really good scheduling setup, and really commendable by both Uruguay and by these respective teams themselves. So, let me know, like, how do you feel like the scheduling goes? And do you think that it is something to be indicative that maybe these tier one teams should be getting more of this tier two life underneath it? Because Obviously, starting next year, we got the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 competition. What was it? The World Rugby, I don't know. I call it the World Rugby Cup annually now. That's basically that, but it's just in those separate tiers that now make it 6 years before maybe one of those tier 2 teams are going to play a tier 1 team outside of the US in the Pacific Nations Cup. And obviously, this season, I don't foresee tier 2s going through. But I do hope that a lot of these teams are breaking out of that and will allow themselves to get to play in a real major way. All right, y'all. We got another one. We're gonna get back. I got college rugby for you guys. I got some college rugby going on for you guys. Let me just throw a few comments that kind of went back to what we had just talked about with the WER Blue Sox was talking about. I was buying tickets for the San Diego Legion Utah Warriors this weekend and saw RFC LA on the schedule. I didn't even know about them until yesterday. Shake my head. Hey man, we got to keep it up. USA Rugby League and Union fans saying, yo, I'm a season holder for RFC LA. It's been amazing. USA Rugby League and Union fans have been running all over the West Coast, just taking in all the rugby league, sevens, Union, 15s, just eating it all. I commend to the work being done on that one. And then Alex Rosa saying tier 1 teams should definitely play other tier teams. A bunch of snobs with their noses in the air don't want to play with the pole folk. Them pole folk, man. Look, I agree with you. I do also say that, and I talked about this in another episode beforehand, that I do feel significantly about the factor that I do like the fact that tier 2 teams should be able to play with themselves, but should be developing very strongly within their tier and develop all the aspects of the rugby for them, because I feel like the tier 1s really get the advantage from having history. They're not really, not that they're not good. Obviously, they're good, but history plays such a heavy hand on them. Their community is history. People have been doing it generationally, and I do feel like there is obviously a complacency with them, which is why they see so many financial straits in these areas. But I think in tier 2, they have a chance that you could take over. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that I still think tier 1 and tier 2 should have still their occasional games, and it helps as sharpening iron in either direction. So
buckwheat is changing lives. My name is GiftTime. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to tell you about one of my favorite products on our shelves, buckwheat baking mix. Buckwheat is a seed that is incredibly nutrient and protein dense. But what makes it even more important, that buckwheat baking mix is absolutely gluten-free. A lot of times whenever people have buckwheat mixes, they actually even hold wheat inside of it. So you know it's not fully gluten. And if you're a person that is celiac or diabetic, or you're just really trying to be health conscious, it's not something that you want to have to worry about. What makes our buckwheat baking mix even more important is that it is versatile. You can use it for pancakes, you can use it for waffles, you can use it for making loaves of bread, you can make it for cupcakes. But what helps even more is that it is allergen free, it is nut free, it is dairy free, that there is no additional additives in it. There's no leavening there, so that if you want to be able to raise your bread, you can put in the baking powder yourself and get it fluffy. If you don't, you absolutely do not have to. You get the bread that you love without the cost to your health. You can absolutely find buckwheat baking mix at healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely check it out. Get your nostalgia back. Get back to eating and loving the way that you are, and absolutely get back to the energy that you know that you can get without having to destroy yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing you get it. Let's go.